We know which countries surround Israel, which is only 22,000 square feet in circumference. Our question is what Israel can do to overcome them. Israel's defense mechanism is astounding to all other nations. Israel shares borders with Lebanon, Syria, Jordan and Egypt. Israel has fenced off all of Israel's borders. The fences that Israel has erected on all these borders are a miracle. These companies are 20 feet tall. On top of these barbed wire fences there is a system to capture the radio signals. Israel has fixed this system on all the fences in the country. Part of that fixed system is motion analysis. It has a system to detect any movement. The cameras installed on this wire fence as well as the motion analyzing mechanism can detect even if someone tries to break in at night. Israel has unmanned systems to cover these fences that we have seen. They use small unmanned aircraft and drones. Those drones are a system to identify any kind of movement near their border. In fact, even the rest of the world buys drone systems from Israel. These drones with GPS navigation system are also a spy tool to leak the secrets of other countries. The truth is that Israel has used drones in large numbers. These drones also have a capacity to transmit what they are filming to the control tower at the appropriate time. That means the drones are reporting things live very quickly to Israel. All the information in the areas near the border reaches Israel through these drones. In recent days, several people associated with Hezbollah have been injured and killed by pager blasts. Thus Israel's message reached their pagers because Israel has all the information about the people who were injured and killed. That pager explosion is clear evidence that Israel was monitoring the entire Hezbollah people. What we know is that on October 7, 2023, terrorists in Gaza stormed into Israel and killed thousands of people in Israel. That's why Israel stormed into Gaza and killed as many Hamas terrorists as possible in the past year. Connected with this is a fact that we all know. Hamas operatives in Gaza were inside the tunnels. That is why it took so long to find and kill them. If we talk about the problems of the past year, we call it the Israel-Hamas problem, but Hamas is not the only one on the opposite side of Israel. We can see Hezbollah from Lebanon as well as the Houthis in Yemen and Iran sneaking in many times. Then this group led by Iran is called the Axis of Resistance in the language of Israel. Therefore, as soon as the war with Hamas ends, the countries of the world have already calculated that Israel is likely to carry out large-scale attacks with other opponents who are part of this axis of assistance. Then we can see that those calculations are correct from the pager explosion to the events here. Pagers and walkie-talkies used by members of Hezbollah exploded at the same time, causing massive damage to Hezbollah. This method of attack by Israel, which has turned the tools used for Hezbollah's communication into a weapon against them, has shocked the world. But we can see that Israel shocked the world with this kind of small attack method. It is a natural question for many to wonder why Israel's military is handling its northern border so carefully in its confrontation with Lebanon. There are many explanations for this from Israel's side. We can understand the Israeli government's commitment to its own people when we know what Israel is aiming for by invading Lebanon. On October 7th last year, after Hamas terrorists infiltrated Israel and abducted many people, Hezbollah launched a rocket attack in support of Hamas. Hezbollah terrorists attacked Israel without a single day. Hezbollah has announced that it will continue until the ceasefire in Gaza continues, but Israelis living along the border have already started fleeing. 60,000 of Israel's citizens had to leave their own homes and go into exile. The main challenge before Israel is to get them back. Israel had also defeated Hezbollah's moves to launch an October 7th model attack on Israel with such a move. Hezbollah terrorists targeted villages on the border with Israel. As part of this, the Prime Minister of Israel has now ordered to strengthen security in the northern region that shares the border with Lebanon. For Israel, the security of the people on their northern border is paramount. They focus on getting them back. The countries of the world believe that the Israeli government has decided to launch such an attack on Lebanon. Israel launched the ground war in Lebanon after 2 weeks of continuous airstrikes against Hezbollah bases. Israel and Hezbollah have been enemies for decades, and both groups want to see their adversary destroyed. All attacks by Israel against Hezbollah leaders in Beirut have been successful. In the first phase, Israel achieved great success in killing Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and other top leaders of the terrorist organization. Hassan Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah for 32 years. This gave a big blow not only to Hezbollah but to the axis of resistance as mentioned earlier. Hassan Nasrallah was not the only one who was killed as part of this attack in Beirut, Lebanon. Commanders of Iran's IRGC, as well as top leaders of Hezbollah and Hamas, were killed in the attack. Along with this, Israel is starting airstrikes in the southern part of Lebanon. Moreover, the Israel Defense Forces launched a ground invasion into Lebanon. At the same time, Israel launched various attacks against the Houthis in Yemen. All of these attacks put Iran and its allied axis of resistance groups into a major crisis. News is beginning to emerge that Israel's next target is Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. As things have gotten so far out of hand, the countries of the world are putting forward all the possibilities of a counterattack against Israel led by Iran. A fierce attack by Iran on Israel comes after American intelligence agencies gave Israel a hint about this. Iran launched a missile attack on Israel in retaliation for the killing of its important leaders. Iran fired about 200 ballistic missiles at Israel. There was a huge protest against this attack from the countries of the world. Iran's attack on nearly 10 million people was a total failure. As per the instructions of the security officials, the entire Israeli population had shifted to the shelters. The Israel Defense Forces said that most of the ballistic missiles sent by Iran to Israel were intercepted by its air defense system. There have been no reports of any Israeli casualties in this attack by Iran. Many reports are coming out about how this attack affected Israel. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Iran's operation against Israel was considered a failure and Iran will have to pay a heavy price for it. But the Iranian sources say that these attacks were able to destroy the military areas in Israel and that they destroyed the air bases in Israel that were flown for the airstrike that led to the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, in Iran. However, Israel has already announced that it will take action against Iran. The big response from Israel was that Iran would regret it. But in the meantime, Israel intensified its attack on southern Lebanon. Israel maintains that it will continue its military operation in Lebanon until it achieves its objective. Hezbollah militants have moved inland from close to the Israeli border due to the heavy attack by the Israeli army. Meanwhile, Israel ordered the immediate evacuation of 30 villages in southern Lebanon and destroyed the main road from Lebanon to Syria through Israeli airstrikes. Now Hezbollah is in a situation where they have no leaders and no weapons. Israel has blocked all means of supplying weapons from Iran. In any case, Hezbollah sees only one target in front of him. Use all available weapons against Israel. But they know very well that failure is certain. There are no leaders and no communication system. Hezbollah has now reached a state where there is nothing like this. Here comes the biggest question. What will happen next in this matter? Will this turn into a war that affects the whole of West Asia? We cannot give an exact answer to this, but one thing that experts in this field agree on is that it depends on what kind of response Israel will give to Iran. When Iran attacked Israel in April this year, Israel retaliated, but it was a limited airstrike. That is, Israel's attack was mainly against a defense site associated with a nuclear facility in Iran. This time, because the power of the attack from Iran's side is more, the counterattack will be bigger, but if it is a limited strike like last time, the chances of the problems turning into a war are very low. If you look at some of their moves, you will understand that this is not a big problem for Iran. Iran describes an attack as a retaliatory strike against events such as the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, as well as Israel's grounding in Lebanon and the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. Experts find that the word retaliatory strike is a rumor that Iran is not interested in escalating this. But if there is a strong counterattack from the side of Israel, Iran will be forced to retaliate again. Experts also suggest that it could lead to a major war. It must be recognized that we can never say for sure what the outcome of the war between these nations will be, except that we can form an idea of how it will proceed. But along with this, another thing that everyone is discussing is the nuclear capability of these two countries. Now if we look at Israel, they are not officially a nuclear state, but it is generally believed that Israel has between 100 and 300 nuclear warheads. In the case of Iran, there is no exact clarity, but it is generally said that the elephants, as well as nuclear test sites and uranium enrichment plants, are all inside Iran. They have not been able to develop nuclear weapons. But some news has been coming out for some time now that their technology has reached a point where they can develop a nuclear weapon at any moment. Therefore, we are seeing that from time to time there will be moves on the part of Israel to destroy Iran's plan. Given all these reasons, it is said that the possibility of an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities is very high. Thus, an important Israeli objective would be to prevent Iran from building up its military power beyond a certain limit through an attack. Many of Israel's leaders have made several statements related to this. They are talking about an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. There are various proposals for Israel to retreat from this situation. In recent days, U.S. President Joe Biden has made it clear that the U.S. will not support an attack on such nuclear facilities. Meanwhile, former U.S. President and Republican candidate Donald Trump said that Israel should attack Iran's nuclear facilities instead of attacking Israel. He also said that there should be more sanctions against Iran. Donald Trump came shortly after President Joe Biden's remarks that he would not accept an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Regarding the Iran-Israel issue, President Joe Biden said that Israel has the right to defend itself, but it must be proportionate. 2 soldiers were killed and several others were injured in a drone attack carried out by an armed group on the border of Israel in the Golan Heights, immediately after Israel's statement that it would have to open more fronts. One of the 2 drones that attacked Israel destroyed Iron Dome, Israel's anti-exploitation system. Another drone hit an Israeli military base in the northern Golan Heights. Iranian-backed groups based in Syria also continue to carry out attacks on Israel. Meanwhile, threats in Yemen openly challenged Israel. The Houthis claimed that they have only 11.5 minutes to attack Israel after passing 2,000 kilometers and that such a hypersonic ballistic missile was delivered to Israel the other day. The Houthi spokesman described October 7th as a holy day. They also say that Israel should expect more attacks from the Houthi on this day. But after the Houthis attacked an oil tanker in the Red Sea and released its footage, the combined forces of the United States and Britain launched a powerful attack on Houthi centers in Yemen. A U.S. military official stated that they had attacked 15 centers and many people were killed. The Israel Defense Forces bombed and destroyed all the buildings used to store Hezbollah weapons. Hezbollah militants have stockpiled large quantities of weapons in most homes in southern Lebanon. Similarly, Israel Defense discovered and destroyed tunnels used to smuggle weapons from Syria to southern Lebanon. It is from these places that Hezbollah terrorists have been constantly launching attacks into Israel. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that they have the duty and the right to retaliate against Iran's missile attacks against them and that they will do so.